Hey everybody, it's Damian Gergiev from the Break It Down Show. Today's guest is Malcolm Joseph. He's a bass player who teaches, plays sessions, and has his own band. Malcolm has evolved through over 40 years in the music industry. He's known for his band Seventh Heaven, and since 2008 he is Grace Jones' prime bass player. He also released solo albums and has worked and performed with music legends from the UK and music world industry since the 80s, including Massive Attack, Soul to Soul, Dave Stewart, Sky Edwards, and many, many more. His new EP dropped this month and is available on Spotify, Amazon, and all the places where music is available. Malcolm brings several friends to support him on the album, including Cleveland Watkins, Desi DeLauro, Alfie Robinson, Walter Chancellor Jr., and a lot of fantastic musicians. You already know what to do. Ride for the brave, go to savethebrave.org and support these fellas. We fight together, PTSD. If you want to support our show, go to the PayPal link on our website, put a little money in it, and all the money goes straight back to the show. You can find our merch also on the website, or you can simply subscribe. You can also find us on YouTube. That's the probably best place to listen and watch our live shows. Alright, enough of me. Here comes Malcolm Joseph.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay
This
Moore.
is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick
This
Marotta.
is Stewart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hi, it's Malcolm Joseph, and you're watching the Break It Down show with host Peter A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Thanks, man. That's a great intro. Good job. I love having musicians on. I love having bassists on. I wish John was here, but he's right. We're both going on vacation with our respective others, and so together, all of us, a foursome, and so we're all have a crazy short week kind of thing. So he had to work instead of hang out with you, but he wants to. One of the things that's incredible, Malcolm, is John. John was a drummer growing up, but he never quite got over the hump. To get to professional grade and everything, because girls and jobs and money and music don't always line up the way you want to.
Yeah,
but now he's in this great band, and they're a cover band. They play in the Bay Area, and they're called the Uncommon Wealth, and they play like Duran Duran, The Who, Echo and the Bunnymen, all these great like 80s and before songs. And nobody plays these things out live. And so it's
not anymore.
Yeah. Like they'll play Depeche Mode, U2, just a great band. And he's having an absolute blast. It's brilliant. So great. And this, he gets to play music out live as a drummer. Like he's living his dream,
Yeah, fantastic. Good on him.
Yeah. What about you? Are you going to be able to get out live soon, or how's it looking for your efforts?
At the moment with Grace, there's no news of anything coming out live. I'm sure there will be. I've heard last that she's back in the studio just finalising and completing the album, which has been going on for a number of years. So it's been quite good in that sense that she's focused into the album, and hopefully you'll hear something of that next year.
Do you like to be on the road more than home and creating? I mean, look, there's a cost to being on the road, right? Like you got to be day to day doing, there's just schedules and it's just harder, right? Do you like that better than writing, or what do you like about it?
It's just like the adventure, isn't it? It's like, you've kind of cooped up in the studio for a number of years or a length of time. And then all of a sudden you get to go out and see the whole world and go out and perform in front of people. It's a balance of both, really, I think.
Yeah.
But I do love the studio. I love the studio.
Yeah. And then ultimately the reason why you're out is because you put out a new EP called Robotronics.
That's right, yes.
Well, tell us about that.
Yeah, Robotronics was a kind of brainchild of myself, trying to work out what I was going to do in the lockdown sessions. And a few folks have been saying, Mal, we haven't heard anything, or you've not recorded quite anything for a bit of the time. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to get it together. And whilst doing that, I met Aaron Casserly Stewart from Paradise Hill Productions. And we said, all right, come on, let's get an EP out. And then, put it together, and it came out. And it's quite amazing, really, the collaborations as well we worked with. And I'm in the proceeds of putting the album together now.
Yeah, no, it is. It's great. And the EP thing. Here's my question, and I mean this only in the positive way. I'm old. I come from the album era. And I'm like, well, why didn't he just put out a whole album? But then again, who puts out whole albums anymore? I mean, it's really EPs or shorter, right?
Yeah,
And
that's right. Yeah.
like I dropped a track, and I'm like, why don't you drop 12? But the reality is the industry wants shorter stuff.
Yeah, they just want short, sharp, sweet. Get the attention span for like at least over half a minute, and you're in.
Yeah.
I thought, the EP was a really good idea. It was quite eclectic, so it had a kind of selections of. Everyone's said to me, like, what's your number one out of the three? And I said, well, they're all number ones. Like, they're all kind of individually kind of produced and musically challenging tracks. So it's been good for that.
Yeah, it is eclectic. When I was listening to it, one of the things I heard obviously is the funk, right? You've got that in there, but there's a lot of 80s vibe in there too.
Yeah.
And then you also brought in some young voices to kind of multi-generationalize it,
Yeah, exactly. And that's I love working like that, and I'd love giving other artists of whatever ages and a shot of what they want to produce or want to kind of be involved in. And so it was great. And 80s, that's me really. That's where I'm from,
Yeah. Well, it felt like home to me, right? Like I felt like this was like a cool 80s version of like a 70s movie, what has funk in the soundtrack. And yeah, you hit it right on the head with me. Talk about some of the people that you've partnered with, because there's some pretty incredible musicians, and the guy that blows the sax. Let's not go by him without talking about him, but let's just talk about some of these people you partnered with.
Yeah, as the saxist, Walter Chancellor, who's quite incredible sax player.
Seriously.
Well, he comes from the camp of New Power Generation, Prince. He kind of worked with that whole unit for a number of years. Again, Aaron sort of said, like, have a chat. You two really hit it off, and we did. So I said, I've got this groove and this melodies and stuff. Do you fancy having a go in it? And he came back, and it was just like, I was blown away. So he's been quite amazing. And on Robotronics is Kezia, is a young singer, British singer, who's kind of worked in the kind of soul scene in London throughout the different kind of session world and stuff. And she came up and she wanted, I said, like, you'd be great to front it, and I really like your voice. And she came up with some really amazing goods, and that was quite incredible. Alfie Robinson, I worked with, who was like the most incredible vibraphone player, who, as well as worked with Cleveland Watkins, who's a kind of vocalist supremo with the Black British jazz scene. So they've been around a long time, and they're very influential. And then there's Desi DeLauro and Ricky Bajot, who play keyboards on Fallin', and she sung Fallin'. And what an incredible artist. And both of them, as a husband and wife team, was like, I couldn't have asked for anything better, really. So that was a result in that sense. And we've all got along, and really beautiful people. And it was quite amazing how quickly we got it together and produced the EP.
You guys do this remotely, like everybody, you got people in Minnesota, people in England, they're doing their own bit and just sending it in, or how are you guys putting all this stuff together?
That's how it's worked. I've come up with the kind of the sketching, as they say, and basically I've just fed it to everyone, and thankfully that they had their own recording facility during the lockdown. So they were able to kind of like do their own production of how they would like to sound. And they would send me the stems, and I kind of put it back into the track and mix it from there.
Did Walter Chancellor just find something to say in every song? Because he's like in there. Like it's almost as if he is like the lead singer a lot of times, because he's just so and I mean this in the best way. Like he got what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Straight away when we talked and I played it to him, and he said, look, here's a first sketch of what I'm doing, and he sent it to me, and I was blown away then. And then literally a couple of days later, it was like, no, don't use that one. And he done it again, and it just like
Yeah.
I just got blown out of the water completely. So it was like another amazing. He's such a great player and such a really cool dude.
How did you connect with him?
Through Aaron Casserly.
Okay. So his part of his connections, yeah.
Yeah, Paradise Hill Productions. Yeah. So
when you look at his pedigree, it's shocking how many people he's blown for, right?
I know, it's incredible. Yeah. So I was really honored. I was like, "What? You want to do this?" And he just read me. He just knew what I wanted, and he just knew the vibe I was aiming for. And he's totally, it's great.
Just for anybody who's not looking, he's played with, all kinds of people. I'm not going to say them all, but Larry Graham. I mean, talk about funk. Boom, right there, Larry Graham. Yeah. Willie Nelson, Shaka Khan, Prince. It's incredible.
Yeah. All top grade stuff there, really. Yeah.
When you find out he's going to play on your music, what does that mean to you? I mean, that's okay, great. It's neat and everything, and it's exciting. But then you look and you're like, God dang, I get to make music with these incredible. I mean, obviously you're incredible. You've been doing this your whole life, but what does that feel like when you get that email back? Like, yeah, I'm in. I love it. Let's do it.
It's just like a little shiver of kind of like, ooh, this is going to be great. And it's just been wonderful. It's just an amazing feeling that, you think, you're trying someone out this caliber for the first time, and there wasn't even a second thought. It was like, yes, I'm in, and I was just like, whoa, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And then when he shows up with ideas and like, hang on, I can do that better.
Yeah, exactly. He came with one idea, and as I said, and I was blown out of the water by then. I was just saying, this is incredible, and literally a couple of days after that, he said, don't use that, try this. And that's what's on the track now. So it's such a great arranger, some phenomenal ideas, very kind of exploratory, really likes looking into different depths of, variations of working with sax and baritone, and even utilizing like bass clarinets and stuff like that. Yeah, he was. He's a don. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's not afraid of a Barry sax, and not at all. But those deeper tone saxes, they do something for music. I mean, I think about NWA when they come in. It's like, burr, burr. It's terrifying, right? But it also can be sensual. It's a crazy thing, and I don't think we get enough horns and saxes on music these days.
No, it's not as much as it used to. Like back in the 80s, there was saxophones on everything, or big brass sections and nice kind of amazing arrangements. Heading for the Tower of Power kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And it was like, especially in funk, you know what I mean? That's quite a key, essential rhythm, but as well as sound. You know what I mean? So it's coming back. It's
good. Well, because I was watching, my girlfriend were watching the MTV Awards last night, and most of that music, look, I'm old, right? So, I'm like, most of that music, I just don't identify with it like that. I can hear it. I know it's catchy, but I don't, it's a little bit, and this happens in music. You go through eras where it's overproduced, and then they're exploring new frontiers, and they figure that out, and then they go back to the base. These things, they rotate. And I can't wait. I'm hoping to hear more horns and things, because we had Mick Gillette. Speaking of Tower of Power, we had Mick Gillette on the show, and he talked about pretty much right before he died, and he talked about the power of having horns and just blowing the back of the room off, and they can do so many things. Like they can hold a space, and everybody else can just anchor off of it. They can lead. They can do all kinds of things. It's
and then you're not starting. Then when they start to utilize like effects and things like that within their sound, that's a whole other scope again. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, there's a guy from the Bay Area named Paul Hansen, and he just jams a microphone down his bassoon and just runs effects through a bassoon, and it's the craziest. He's like the Jimi Hendrix. I mean, it sounds dumb, but he's like a Jimi Hendrix for the bassoon. He's broken all the rules and created these sounds that humanity's never even heard before,
Yeah, we love that. Yeah, we do like that.
So, okay, I've been listening to a lot, so if you look at my YouTube like playlist and the things I listen to, it's pretty eclectic. I try to be as English as I can,
Okay.
And I told you we had DC Lee on the show recently. And for those who don't know, she goes back to the 80s also, and she's done everything. And she was in a relationship with a guy named Paul Weller in the band, the Style Council.
That's right.
They did jazz, rap, pop, dance. I mean, no rules at all. And all of you folks are like that. I mean, you guys move around, especially, these guys that you partnered with too. Walter, of course, same kind of thing, but especially like Cleveland, that guy, he doesn't have a home genre. He just gets it and goes.
And that's exactly what, like with myself, Cleveland, Alfie, we all come from the same neighborhood. So, over the years, we've grown up in the same neighborhood, and it's like, you get a taste of all the cultures that you've kind of grown up in. So it was never, I'm just going to stick to that particular genre, or I'm going to work and kind of concentrate my musical skills in that particular genre. You always wanted to try something else. You always wanted to move into a different road, and that kind of, it's refreshing in that way. I think there's a lot of British musicians that are like that. A lot of them, yeah.
But why? I mean, look, multicultural is one thing to say that, but multicultural can be anything. Why do you guys get that? Why are you guys look, Paul Weller shouldn't be doing rap in the mid 80s.
Yeah, that's true.
It's on his albums, right? And his albums are smashing. They're going number 1, they're going 2, and he's putting all this eclectic stuff on there. So not only does he get it, but everybody got it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's been going for a long time, that kind of attitude, even when, not even necessarily like jumping from genre to genre. For instance, like Led Zeppelin would do sort of a lot of blues, and then there'd be like a kind of like a straight rock, or it could be a kind of ballad, but you can hear the sort of soul influence and a black influence within it. And it's like, we take these options and we kind of pull everything in, and then you kind of roll around in it a bit and then really enjoy it, and then you produce what you come out with, and it's fresh. It's always fresh. Yeah.
You went with funk as your base this time, though. I mean, you definitely have funky roots. What inspired this particular collection of songs?
I just think it's, for me, it was something to keep short, sharp and sweet of the journey I've been through, and, my passion and love for funk. And it's, I've always loved soul and funk. I've always been I was always a clubber back in the days and always followed music everywhere. So it was some of the influences that I wanted to put back, and there's still a lot more to come with that in the album as well. So yeah, I'm seeing Parliament Funkadelic for the first time in 1977. That kind of put a stamp on everything, really.
Yeah, I can see that. And having Larry Graham around, that doesn't hurt that kind of sensibility, because you're a bass player. You've got to be deep in his catalog to understand how to play funk well.
Oh yeah, from like Sly and the Family Stone, it's just that whole funk era there on its own. Like it was quite eclectic in the sense of like how it was portraying the genres of mixing funk with a popular music.
Yeah.
Trying to make it a bit more commercial than most people would expect, So yeah, so those influences were huge on me. Yeah, definitely.
We've had Sly on the show, and God, when you get his moments of brilliance, he's an old man, he's been hard on his body, so his moments of brilliance are pretty short, but the wisdom is just sticky. It sticks with you. And one of the things he said was, okay, it's not just about music, it's about social movement. I wanted hippies in my band. I wanted people to look different. I didn't want to be the only one singing. So my sister sang, my brother sang, everybody sang. I had white people. It was about this kind of peace and love kind of thing, because that was the vibe. That was the era, right? And I remember there was and I've asked a couple people about this, but he was on Dick Cavett with Muhammad Ali, right? And Muhammad, neither guy is wrong. It's just two different ways of coming at this problem. Muhammad is saying, hey, we got to get ours. We haven't had ours yet. We'll get together later on, but we need to get caught up. We need to, get what's right, our rightful spot. And then Sly is like, be cool, man. Just be cool, And so we have this kind of tug of war between how we do, and these guys are both cultural icons. I mean, they're setting the tone. People still talk about Ali fights. You can't go an hour without hearing a Sly Stone song on a commercial somewhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah, right. That's right.
We like to say around here that the people that copied the people that copied the people that copied the people got their ideas from Sly Stone. I mean, you can't do hip hop without having Sly's stuff all over you.
Like and Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was everywhere. Even if it wasn't actually totally ripped from it, it was the influences of melodies and beats and bass lines and stuff. It was all combined.
Yeah. When you hear those bass lines, I mean, they do stand up, right? They're the backbone of all of hip hop, basically, and the beats too.
Yeah.
Why was it so good?
Freedom, I think.
Okay.
It was just, let's not have any barriers and just go for it and just come out with what your soul is singing,
Yeah.
And go for it and then kind of like expand on that and develop that. And that seems to be the freedom that's come out a lot more. No one was kind of going to, we've got to write it like this to go into this particular chart, or we've got to write it like this so we can be accepted here. Obviously, Sly did that because he got accepted, in a massive market that wasn't really kind of into that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My buddy Dickie's putting up some comments here talking about different kinds of forms of music. And I was going to ask you about ska and reggae and that whole movement. And again, this is, you guys, you're on an island, but you're nowhere near Jamaica or anywhere in the Caribbean. But these movements are massive. I mean, we have Matt Hoy is a buddy of ours, right? And he was in UB40 for years and years and years. Here's a band where you can say they're not a reggae band, but they tell you that you were wrong, and they'd be right.
Yeah, that's right. A big influence here, reggae. It's like, as you say, we're a tiny little island, but we're on fire, man. It's sort of like we're bubbling with new, ambitious, and kind of steady influences that we kind of honor and respect and always survive it and always keep it alive, if you know what I mean. We're keeping that whole scene alive, and from where we come, we eject it out to the rest of the globe, and they don't realize it's coming via us, in a sense, if you know what I mean.
It blows me,
everything,
It blows me away how powerful the UK is in terms of that. I mean, we won't even include like Australia in here for a minute, right? Because they have their own thing. But let's not ignore the fact that they're a massive influence on the world with music. But again, it's not that the British Isles, it's just not that much space. And I mean, I'm thinking about so many bands, Ozzy Osbourne, New Order, Adele. I'm just thinking of names off the top of my head. There are so many people. Rankin Roger. I mean, all these, and I said three different. Everybody's,
it goes on. The list goes on, and it's that's how we work.
How is it so powerful, though? I mean, Germany doesn't do that. France doesn't do that.
Well, you look at how powerful the UK is back in the time where all of our massive bands like the Beatles, Zeppelin, the Stones just went out into the world and kind of brought in an influence from elsewhere, obviously. But, it was a standing power that we were bringing forward, and, everyone had to come and have a look.
Yeah.
You come and have a look and see what's going on in the UK, and you realise that these people are passionate. We're passionate about our music.
Yeah. And if you're in America and you're not making it here, you can try going over there, and there's a good chance, you have a new chance to make it, whether you're Chrissy Hine, Jimi Hendrix. So many groups have done that.
Yeah, we're here, we have open arms. We always, give a chance to listen to new music and new vibes. So it's never been a door shut, if you know what I mean. We're always open doors. Come in, have a look.
Come in, have a look. Well, let's have a look at Robotronics again. Keziah Hodgson.
Yeah, Keziah Hodgson. Yeah.
What? How did that relationship start, and then what did Keziah deliver to the album?
The conversation started from Kezia started playing bass, and she wanted to learn to play bass, and she'd always kind of like, oh, I like your bass lines, and you know, how did you do that? And then I ended up showing a couple of bass lines that we've done with Grace Jones, and she got really into that, and it was part of her trying to be more instrumented in far as playing different instruments for her own particular projects and stuff. So we've always been chatting for a number of years, and you know, kept in touch, talked about music and what projects she was doing in London and around the UK. And first thing I thought of when I did Robotronics was like, you know, I think this music will go down a treat with Kezia because she's a bit kind of like sharp, got some great ideas and is in the know. So I said, let's get on with it. Let's try it out. And she said, look, I've got some lyrics. And from then on, she just kind of came on board, and I was taken aback by the fact that she came up with this great melody, and, you know, she just fitted in perfectly, you know. So, and finally, I got to meet her last week in London.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, we finally met up after over like 3 years or so that we haven't met. We've seen each other online and stuff, but to meet in person, it was great.
And what was that like? I mean, you say it's great, but let's talk through it. I mean, you create something with somebody, you let her put words on your music. That's something special.
Yeah, totally. And that's exactly how I felt about how I would be working with Kezia. There's something special there that was going to work between us, and it worked. And she's always up for new ideas. She's young. She's very young, and new, fresh blood. And it was like, you know, she's worked with some great musicians in the circuit, and it was just like, I think, you know, you'd be great to front this track. And we worked together and like what was going on with the lyrics and the choruses and stuff, and produced it and put it to the track. It was amazing. Yeah.
Do you like surrendering the words to somebody else? Is that comfortable for you?
It can. Yeah. I can't, you know, sometimes, you know, you have a lyric title, a couple of lyric idea and a tiny melody, but sometimes there's a fresh approach who has an idea where you're going to come from, and there's a fresh approach to it. And then, you either say, well, no, it doesn't really work, or, you know, that's fantastic, you're doing it. This is you. You know, you're writing these. You've got the right idea. I will put in a couple of little, well, maybe we can't use that phrase, or look at that sentence. But usually I just have a free hand and enjoy. And it's the freedom, again, like we were talking about earlier, to give the musician to express themselves or how they would portray the track. And it's worked in that sense with her.
I don't know how old Kezia is. You know,
25.
She's not 25. Okay. So, you know, you've got this project all together, and you're like, yeah, I should write some lyrics for 25.
Yeah. And
that's bold, man.
Yeah, it's like, you know, and great twist. And that's what I thought. There was going to be there's Aaron Casserly. I see a message from him. Yeah. It was a great twist, and that's what I was looking for. Was just trying to look away from standard kind of soul, lyrically kind of vibe. I wanted a bit more raunch, a bit more, not so much street, but just a bit more of a different attitude that would sit over the track completely, you know. Yeah.
Sometimes that female voice, or flipping the perspective on a song, you know, and even as songs age, putting them in a past tense or more reflective, you know, you can almost take any kind of love song, especially if it's like a breakup song, and you can sing it or perform it in the mindset of being, I'm this middle-aged person now, you know, like there's a U2 song. I'm a big fan of U2. And it's called So Cruel, you know, and it kind of ends with like the whole idea is she's so cruel. And then as an adult male, now you could sing that to this woman and be like, I was so cruel, you know, because you can start to see your you know, you can realize that you're part of this thing, right? And sing something that's more deep, more soulful, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree on that one. Yeah.
Who moves? Yeah. Go ahead.
Go on, what was you going to say?
I would say, who moves you like that? They're like, who do you hear and think, okay, let me tell you why I'm thinking about this. That'll get us going in the right direction. So Chris Thomas King on his new album, he sings an Adele song, and I'm trying to think which one it is right now, and I can't think of which one it is, but it's that. I can't pull it. Anyhow, he sings it, but he's a different voice. He's not this young, vibrant female voice. It's a different one, right? Oh, Somebody Like You, that song.
All right. Okay. It's
And
a
so
different tone.
What's that?
It's like a different tone. It sets a different,
Yes.
a whole different persona, and it's, it kind of aspire to people thinking, wow, this is amazing. That got different textures, just changed the whole balance of the track. And
Yeah.
you've gone in deeper. You're looking deeper into the lyric and the melody as well. So.
Yeah. And Daryl Hall does this a lot. He'll do like his live from Daryl's house shows, and then the act will come in, and like Malcolm will come in, and you'll say, hey, I want to do the funky version of this, or can we 80s this up? And he's so comfortable, Daryl is, in his music, that it gets to be redefined by these other artists that come in, and I just love it. I love that.
Yeah, that's same here. That's the kind of vibes we all like, really. That's how we work here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how kind of like talented British musicians are. They can really pull it out of the bag, if you know what I mean.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, it's just like, you can, for instance, you can dump me. I was playing with Massive Attack, and next thing I'm playing with Grace Jones, and next thing I'm working with like Walter Chancellor Jr., Kezia, who's in a totally different world, and we all understand this chemistry. It's a chemistry. It's a formula that we're sometimes not really conscious about until we actually put it together in the same pot.
Let's talk about Orphe a little bit. How did that come together?
Well, again, Aaron, I sort of known Orphe for forever, really, but I hadn't seen him for a long, long time, and Aaron was in touch with him, and he said, funny enough, it was like on Freedom, I was always thinking of the scenario that it'd be really great to have vibes on and have an amazing, wonderful vocals. And I did think of Cleveland at the time, but I was thinking, I'm not going to do it. He's probably too busy doing other things. But Orphe, Aaron set up a meeting and we got chatting, and we're on Zoom, and one thing led to another, and we started talking about Hackney and about our hometown and where I grew up and where he grew up. And we were on the phone for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and Aaron was just sitting there. He couldn't believe us talking about music and what our journeys had been and who we were influenced by and where we went to kind of like, try our first day out, if you know what I mean, on stage and playing you the first time. And after the conversation, I said, I got this track, you fancy playing it? And he was like, yeah. And that was, and that was it. And again, it was another thing where it was just the basic kind of music and the movement of that structure. And he sent the whole vibe thing all the way through for the track. And again, 3 or 4 days later, I was blown away. I was like, Alfie Robinson, this is like, wow. 3 or 4 days later, he says, no, I don't want you to do that. I'll send you another version.
Of course.
And he just did that in one take, and it was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And then Cleveland heard it, and it was just like, they just worked. It just blended together, and it was beautiful, yeah, absolutely.
For those who don't know Orphe's work, Orphe is a multi-instrumentalist. And just to give you a sample of what that means for him, trumpet, totally different than a saxophone, totally different than keyboards, totally different than a marimba. So it doesn't matter what it is. The dude just can play anything.
Anything he likes, yeah.
Anything. in any genre, any style,
Yeah. And like, if you listen to Freedom, at the end of the track, Orphe's doing a solo, and if you listen closely, you'll hear him singing the solo whilst he's playing. So you can hear him singing away, and it's quite amazing to hear that. Yeah, he's an incredible musician. Really lovely man as well. Oh, Hackney boy, yeah.
All right, so I put the link to Freedom in there. Look, that's a crappy link to have to click on. Just here's what you do. If you're on Spotify, which I know a lot of people are, just type in the word Robotronics or Robotronics, however you want to say it.
Robotronics.
Right, Robotronics. And then there's two options. There's an EP of dance mixes, and then there's the regular Robotronics EP. It's got 3 tracks: Robotronics, Freedom, Just Let Me Be, and Falling. When you put these out, why 3 songs? Why not 6? Why not 4? I mean, how did you? I wouldn't be able to stick to 3 songs. I'd be like, how about we add in this one instead? How did you get to 3 and stick to it?
It was just like, right, I'm staying here. Mustn't go any further. I know I'm tempted. But,
yeah.
You know, it was just tempted to put everything on the plate, you know, and I just think it's like, it's been a while and I've done so many different other things. I think it was best to just go with the EP and sort of, I've got the other tracks ready to go. There's tasters here and there, but the other tracks, it's just be worthwhile just waiting for that to come.
Yeah.
You know, so I just thought, let me reintroduce myself again with these amazing musicians and artists and, you know, restructure it and let's go and see what happens from that. And whilst everyone's getting into the vibe of like, oh, Malcolm Joseph's got this and who works with this, I'm getting on with the album. The album's coming through. So I'd be happy. I was happy. I'm still like old school. I still want an album, you know.
Yeah, okay.
I still like to do an album, you know. I still want to do a really nice sleeve where you can look into it and read all the details and stories and stuff like that. Yeah.
My buddy Brad and I are working on an album, which sounds way more fancy than it is. You know, I'm just going to sing some songs and play the guitar a little bit. And then we'll try to do covers and try to rearrange them. And this is purely for artistic expression. We're not going to sell it. It'll just be there for, you know, just for our own artistic expression. But it's a blast doing it. And there's so many things to think about. So I'm practicing these songs, trying to figure out how to sing them, you know, and sing them in a different way. And he's forcing me to sing this in a style I wouldn't normally. And it's, even if it never comes out, I just love working on it. I just think it's the best. And so I go ahead.
You know, that's what I mean. It's having an EP, then putting like 3 songs or putting 6. It's like you kind of like give them too much away. You want to kind of let them absorb a bit more. Like with an album, I find that you can, you know, people would leave it on and they'll, you know, if it's good for them and it's interesting, it will just kind of be on the old recycle, replay situation. So with an EP, it's free and you want more. So let the more come later. And
all right.
Yeah.
But there is more because you have these remixes. Oh, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, Jake Vertigo, Winston Hazel, Larry Peace. These are people that took a crack at your music and made something more dancey and fun.
Yeah, and Larry Peace, who is the founder of Super Queen Records, was just totally into the track and he wanted to jump on it. And what I did, I just sort of introduced the track to Winston and Jake, and they were like, yeah, send me the stems. I really want to have a go at this. And then Larry said, like, you know, why don't we just do this EP, like 6 remix EP? And I was like, well, you know, it sounds good. So it gives a whole genre of styles within, like, between house and down tempo and a bit of kind of garagey kind of vibe. So it was like, you know, why not? So Larry released it out of Super Queen Records, and it's on its way. And it's on everything at the moment, from TrackSource to, I should say, Spotify, DistroKid, you know, Deezer. Yeah, it's on all those sort of streams.
Yeah, if you're watching internationally, Deezer, go there, definitely check it out. Again, Spotify has all this stuff as well. YouTube has it. Wherever you go, it's going to be there.
Oh, you'll find me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, back to the remix side of it. How did you pick these guys, Jake and Winston? You know, what? Again, there's a comfort you have to have where someone takes your music and makes it into something new.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, as anyone else who wanted to do a remix, they present something of an idea of what they're into and what sort of vibes what they do and where they think their market would lie with the track of the remix they would do. And I just listened to what each DJ remixer had. And I was just like, yep, you're good. That's great. That's great. That's great. And it all fitted into the right scope. And they all came back with their ideas. And it was just like, yeah, It's great. It was amazing. And it was, it was just a taster for every sort of genre within the club market. So it was really good for that. So, yeah. And they're all kind of renowned. Winston Sight from Warp Records is a legend in himself. And Larry, as you know, Larry was Prince's personal DJ.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's got a really good club scene and got his own vibes there and, you know, travels around the States playing. So it was good. It was good. He's puts it in the right club. So that's great. He's got
Well, and it's good. He takes a funk album or a funk song and puts it into this dance thing. And I sat there prepping this morning stuff and doing some work, and I forgot I had it on. I was like, kind of bopping along as I was doing notes and everything. And yeah, man, I love that. I definitely recommend everybody check out the mixes. You've worked with so many people, and Aaron knows everybody. Who do you want to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
What particularly now? That's a hard one. Wow, that's a difficult one. There's so many kind of great artists that I would love to work with, American and British. I definitely want to get something. Definitely want to get Grace to do something with me. Just she says a few words or so, or sings a little melody. That would be quite phenomenal, really, to get Grace Jones to do something. So,
how is it with her being your boss? Can you send her something and say, "Hey, what do you think?" and have her just be inspired and send you like, "Why don't you do this?" and then send you something, or can you do that because she's your boss? How does that work?
Well, you can do. It's just depending if you can find her.
Okay, fair enough.
If you can find her and she kind of responds, then you're in.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm just pressing up like some vinyls of the EP. So once that's pressed, I'm going to send her a copy and kind of put a nice little note in it saying, look, there's some more tracks. Would you like to be involved in one of the tracks? And I'll send it to you if you're up for it. So she's not shy. She wouldn't kind of totally ignore you. She will listen. So we'll check it out.
How important is it to you that this charts on Heritage or whatever it's going to be? Like, what are your aspirations in terms of the popularity of the songs?
I'm just hoping it'll be listened around the world and people play it and, kind of follow in and kind of continue and inspire other people to get to hear the music. If it charts, it's great. The more listeners, the better, and it'd be nice to actually get recognized, to be put into a chart that it's actually doing something. So, it's definitely healthy to have charting, like, as you say.
Yeah. Do you think you'll tour this thing at all? I know it's super hard with COVID, but do you think you'll take this thing out on the road at all? Or?
Well, that has been mentioned. Okay. I have put bands together and it's hard work.
Right.
And I did say to myself, like, never again, never again, never again.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
There has been a mention of, like, you might have to come out and kind of go out and play it, and we'll see who's got a big fat checkbook if they decide to do that.
That's the thing, right? Yeah.
If they want to do it, they'll just have to say, well, if you've got a big fat wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Someone I know does spectacular things, and he is a master at building. We have a thing called the Rose Parade. It happens on New Year's every year, and they have floats in this parade. And he is a master at winning one of the many different levels of float awards. And so, if you want to win, you hire this guy Ron, and he builds world class floats. And it was the company that owns Stella Rosé, right? And they're like, he said, why don't we get Kool and the Gang to come and play Stella Great Good Time on the float and everything? And they're like, that sounds great, do that. And so he goes to Kool and the Gang and says, I want you to play Celebrate, Good Times instead of Celebration. And I want you to do it on New Year's in LA. And they're like, not a chance. And he's like, how much does it cost? $100,000. He's like, bam, done, 100,000.
Yeah, that's the man. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not going out.
And this is what I'm saying to everybody else too. Go out and see live music. I just saw James Otto, who's a country music singer. He's done really well. He's charted #1, #2, that kind of thing. And we were out doing a charity thing for ALS. My buddy Phil has ALS, and so we're trying to fight that disease. And so you got a chance to go to a winery, eat wonderful food, listen to wonderful music live outside, and it's California, so the weather was perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
And for a small amount of money, go out and see, a couple of national level acts. I mean, James and Jason is another guy who's there on the show. These guys are incredible. You guys got to go out and see live music, especially right now, because I'm telling you, these artists, this is how they live. This is how Malcolm lives.
This is our life. This is our, this is how we work,
Right. Yeah, it's both, right? It's the work and the life. I mean, you take your band out and go tour your thing, and then Grace calls you like, tour canceled. We're going out with Grace, It's like, this is what we do, And
this is
so
how it works, Hopefully, we shall see. You never know. I could actually be the support band for Grace. You never know.
Yeah, open, and then play bass.
And then play bass. Yeah.
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 But definitely go out and see live music, y'all, because it's you know what? You don't have all the anger and hate that's on social media and TV. All that stuff goes away. You sit there with your someone special or your friends or whatever. Have a couple of beers if you're so inclined.
Yeah. That's lush. That's how it should be. Leave the TV alone, leave the media alone. It's just destroying your brain, and go out and see us. We're here. We were always here, through COVID or not. We're always here trying to, to look after our people with music and arts. And that's what we do. That's what we're here for. That's what we're put on this earth for. So that's us.
I know from talking to Matt Hoy about when he writes songs and everything, those words come and there's inspiration, and he kind of just lets it flow, and then whatever comes out, like he's thinking about his mom, he's thinking about love, whatever it is. How do you write when you're writing songs?
Yeah, sometimes it's usually the title. Something will bump into a title, and I look at the title and I think, well, Robotronics, what is Robotronics? It's a kind of like monotonous, synced kind of vibe going on, and nothing's kind of moving away from it. So it was, right, let's try something. Let's try and explain that you've got to change your ways and have a bit more fun and freedom than sort of trying to be just being, narrow-minded.
Yeah.
Kind of move outside of the box, if you know what I mean. So you kind of, titles like that working, or, Falling was a scenario of seeing some, being like totally infatuated with someone and you're not knowing where you stand. And, it's just one lyric come after the other, And it's just, you inspire it, and you just kind of either you scribble it on paper, or for me, it'd be really humming it really badly onto tape. Which no one will ever get to hear.
Yeah.
And then I'll introduce it to a singer and, get them into it. How, in a particular singer, you say, right, well, I really like that tone of your voice. I like your attitude. I like the presence of it. I think it's suited for this track. Have a go on this, They don't.
This is a great point. I love that you're doing this, because when there's a lot of ways to write a song. This is for everybody. There's a lot of ways to write a song. Maybe you sit there and you just beat it out on the piano or whatever. Maybe you grab the bass and you're like, here's a groovy bass line. Let me figure something out from that. You start somewhere. And if you start with, and then you give it to somebody else, they're like, oh yeah. And then you go,
and then you're like, wow, that's it.
Yeah, and you're off. You're off to the races, and you're writing a song because someone's going to have words, someone's going to have the keys, someone's going to figure it out.
Yeah, because, you have it kind of like bubbling in your soul, and you got it in your brain, and you know how you want to hear it. And then you present it to the musician or the musicians, and they hear it instantly. They just know, where you're going to go to and how how you want to move your song forward. Yeah. So it is like, don't be shy to kind of make little bumbles with like little murmurings and little bad things that, bad rhythms for the drummer, bad guitars for the guitarist, because you're reassured that each particular musician you're going to use is exactly how on their style you want, so know capture it. Yeah, completely. Or if you just press like a given beat on the keyboard and record that, like the drummer knows, like, I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to play that. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I'm going to play this, whatever, right? Yeah, whatever it's going to be.
There's like one writing instance with Freedom with Cleveland and Orphe. The drummer, Diane, she said, like, I want you to do all the music and the whole song first, before I played drums on it. And I was like, it's like reverse engineering, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Way around. And when I, obviously I put a kind of like tempo beat and stuff to it, a rough idea of what it was. And when I sent the whole package to her and she sent me her recording of the drums, it was just like, wow, it's exactly, I wasn't expecting that, but it worked so perfect with the track. And it was great. I like those sort of like surprises as well, so that helps.
Yeah, because there's the way of going about it where you're trying to get out of your head what you hear, and it's hard to capture that. And then you're sort of saying, here's an inspiration. What do you hear?
Yeah.
And then put that together.
How
do you hold? Yeah. Okay. So that's wonderful. I want to talk about that. But then how do you simultaneously hold on to the Malcolmness of the song without, because look, Orphe's like, I have an idea, right? Cleveland's like, hey, how about we do this? You're going to keep saying yes to that because those guys have really good ideas, Yeah,
they've got amazing ideas.
So how do you hold on to the Malcolmness of the song?
Well, the Malcolmness of the song is the actual backbone of the whole structure. The arrangement, the way the song is structured, how I've utilized the way the players are working their way around the song. And I kind of still embed it back into the backbone of where it's from originally. So even though everyone's portraying their brilliant ideas and stuff, the backbone is initially me, so I try and, it's not necessarily forcible because musicians know that. They know it's your thing. They know that you're not going to change it around to anything else because they're putting the ideas within an idea or painting that you've already kind of sketched. So they're just filling coloring, we're just doing colors. We're just doing color by numbers together,
Mm-hmm.
and it just works that way. It's, it's unusual. People always say, even though I do quite different things, it's like, I can still hear Malcolm in it. I can still hear.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So I always try and make that important, that stays in there. So it's definitely the Malcolm Joseph vibes, if you know.
Yeah. And you're a bass player, right? And so you get that. I mean, unless you decide not to, and you're crazy ass, probably he's like, yeah, I'll let someone else play the bass on it.
I did.
Exactly. Yeah, you did, right?
I did,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, I've got the bass line, let someone else play it.
Right.
Just so you get a different vibe. Again, it's,
yeah.
I like that. I like that experimenting. And I like that kind of utilizing musicians. It's like, if you had the Motown studio band, you throw a song at them and they all just, that's James Jamerson doing it how he does it. That's, and it's just each musician is how they do it. But this is the song for them. And they color it and they make it your vibe stand out.
Yeah.
It makes your, it makes your vibe stand out exactly how you want it.
And I'm sure you've seen Wrecking Crew, that wonderful movie. We had the director on the show with us, but Carol Kay would do that, right? She's like, "Oh yeah, I hear your adorable little bass line. How about we just do this?" Boom. You're like, "That's a generation-defining bass line,"
smashes it. It's absolutely incredible, and that's the whole idea of. Maybe you can't find that bass player who's that advanced that can play so many different genres. So you find a bass player that you think that can fit into your song, and, vice versa.
I'm glad you talked about the genre part because when I was talking to Dee, and I was so in love with everything she was saying because, she's been through all of it. She's been in one of the biggest bands in the world. Then that falls apart. And I mean, she's been through all of it. She just had her best friend just passed away this summer,
Oh, right. Who was that?
And so when you talk to her, you're talking to a person that's not just able to sing soul. She is soulful.
She is soul. She's got such a beautiful voice, and I always say, she's so underrated. So underrated. I think we have a family connection along the way as well.
Oh, do you really? Oh, okay. This is awesome.
Apparently so, from my aunt on my mother's side.
I love it.
Apparently we are sort of blood connected along the way.
Well, she also has no fear of genre, right? But I wanted to ask her this question. I got a really interesting answer. Okay, so the question is this, Malcolm, you're able to play in whatever kind of genre you want. You're a professional musician, so there's none of this is about that. But when someone brings you a project, when they say the genre, what's the genre that makes you go, whew, I'm not 100% comfortable. I'll figure it out, but like
I'll work it out. Well, jazz.
Love it. She said the same thing. Imagine Daisy Lee saying, yeah, she said jazz. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Not me.
Yeah, hands up.
Yeah.
Yeah, jazz. I've done it. You know,
right. Yeah, and you can do it. But
have a go at it,
Yeah.
But it's the first instance of I love jazz, but you leave it to the professionals to do it.
Yeah.
Totally jazzed out and spent all their whole life in that world. But as you're a sort of multi-genre player, that's the one thing I'll be like, just thanks, but I'll have a go. But if you don't like it, don't. I'm not a jazz player.
Yeah, yeah.
Jazz funk, yeah. I get over a bit of jazz funk,
Well, right, yeah. There's jazz adjacent in a lot of different directions,
Yeah, exactly. I think jazz funk is my safest part, really.
Yeah, I can see that being true. I mean,
yeah.
What would you say? Okay, it's always interesting to hear the answer to this question too. How do you define what jazz is as a genre? Like, how do you sort that out?
Finding the complications of jazz, that's not complicated.
Okay.
If you kind of let it get to you and listen, there's no fear. You understand what's going on. So, yeah, that's how I would define it. I would listen into the musicianship and then you listen to the actual vibe of it and then you get it. You just feel relaxed. A lot of people will kind of go, oh, jazz is a bit too it's falling. It's like loads of musicians being pushed down the stairs with all their instruments and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what people would think of jazz. But, I found listening to jazz is very inspiring, even though you're not actually the player or into that particular scene as such, in that genre per se. But it's very inspiring and it's like it makes you listen and then you really work it out and you feel comfortable and you find the freedom of it. And that's what I love about jazz. Freedom.
We had Nathan East on the show and we asked him a similar question.
The master.
The master, right? And he gets hired to do a Chick Corea show in Jakarta. And so he's like, I'll send my plane for you. And so he's like, most everything I sit down, I'll just play it. But when Chick sends me charts, I have to practice. I've got to get it in my hands. Otherwise, because Chick Corea don't play. He didn't.
Yeah, man. Chick Corea. Yeah, rest his soul. He was seriously a serious boy.
Right. And you're sending chops, and Nathan East is like, I have to work through this or charts. Like that's as complex as stuff can get.
Oh yeah.
And Nathan can play it. Let's understand, everybody. Nathan can play anything, but it made Nathan go, I better put my hands. So how long do we get till Jakarta? 15 hours? Okay.
That's what. Yeah.
Practicing I'll sleep after the gig.
Yeah. But it's like what we were saying about if you get offered a particular genre to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like someone throwing Chick Corea charts at me, and I'll be like, ooh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
I love it.
Great bass player.
But that again, that kind of honesty. That's what it takes. Like they're calling you for a reason because they do know that you can give them what they need, but you have to say, hey, I absolutely can do this. I'll give you my version of it. But if it's not for you, that's a level of professionalism. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I would get asked to play. It's the reason why I get asked to do certain things. It's the level how I can portray the track. I'll give it a go of what you've got, but this is how I do it. With the same, putting me into the fold, than just playing the line that has been done or created beforehand. So you kind of put your bit of your soul in there.
Do you listen to Robotronics at all since you put it out?
I did actually. Yeah, I had a listen the other day.
What'd you think?
I like it. I
Okay.
like it. For me, it's different. If I was to put it on, I would listen to it. It's something different from what's actually out at the moment. So for me, I was quite impressed with myself, really, in that sense.
What grade do you give yourself?
Grade?
Yeah, like did you get an A+? Did you get a B+? How hard are you on yourself when you hear it? Like, did you get the sounds out of it you want? I mean, sometimes people are like, the music is never done. I just have to put it down and move on to the next thing,
Yeah, I give myself a hard kind of like sleepless 2 or 3 days, and then I go, right, that's it.
That's it.
I'm happy. I'll listen 1,000 times and listen through various systems, play it to friends just to kind of get an idea of what they think.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who are not going to say, oh, that's great, but someone that's be really critical and say, well, I'm not sure about that. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
And then once I did, I just commit and I finished. That's it. Bye.
Next project. Yeah, no, I love it. The EP is called Robotronics. There's also Robotronics, the remixes. I listened to it this morning on Spotify. Go wherever you want. I don't care where it is. Just go check it out. And
you'll find it. Just look for Malcolm Jones of Robotronics. Mostly on all the media platforms. Yeah. If you really wanted to find out where the merchandise and everything will be, it will be on DistroKid, and that will be coming soon. As I am currently putting together pressing some vinyls of Robotronics, the EP. So there'll be a nice signed selections of collectibles.
I love it. Yeah. And we'll put links to that when the podcast version comes out. So if you're listening on the podcast side, look in the links and we'll put that stuff in there. Hey, man, listen, I appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to say in closing?
Thanks for having me on the show, Peter. And Bids is a great show to be on. And I like having this chat about, musicians, and it's great.
Yeah.
And thank you for inviting me once again. Brilliant.
Anytime, seriously. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Stand by.